This is the Khoa Bui Show. Khoa Bui is an author, international speaker, and entrepreneur. He started his first business selling music CDs in high school at the age of 16. He then went on and built several businesses. He is the founder of River Designs, a marketing company that helps businesses get more exposure online and offline. He has appeared on TV, radio, newspaper, and magazines from around the world. He has written and published several books and created various products. Khoa Bui is also an international speaker, corporate trainer, and speaks on topics of business, entrepreneurship, motivation, health, marketing, and online business. You could check out his blog site at www.khoa-bui.com. And now, your host, Mr. Khoa Bui.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Khoa Bui Show. And in this episode, I want to be introducing you to a man named Adam Torres. Adam Torres, he is an international speaker. He's the author of Money Matters, 21 Practical Lessons for Everyday Success. And in this podcast or interview or video, we'll be covering personal finance. So how to increase your wealth, how to manage it, how to budget, and other cool tricks in which Adam has learned over the years and also teaches his clients as well. I also like to ask the question, what is the one thing that you can give to the listeners to help improve their finances? And he gave this really incredible answer. So so initially, if you're watching this, there was a bit of like some technical issues at the start where we just couldn't tune into Adam's video feed. It just wasn't coming through. But then after the initial conversations, he just it was able to get in. So I would just like to welcome Adam Torres, and I hope you enjoy the show. Thanks.
Hi,
Hello.
Hi, how you going?
Oh, I'm great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How's everything over there?
Doing well. It's been a rainy day, though, I will say that.
Oh, yeah?
It's just not a typical LA day, I would say that for sure. It's been rainy for the last almost 2 days, and it's weird because one side it look rainy, the other side sunshine.
Oh, wow.
So no, this is odd. Like, people get depressed if there's no sun for like a day.
Yeah, it must be because of the new inauguration with Donald Trump and everything. So.
I don't think the inauguration caused the rain. Come on.
We'll see what happens. Yeah, I saw there was a few funny jokes that's already going around. It's making its rounds. So. It's all over Instagram and Facebook and everything, so it should be pretty good.
We'll see. Yeah. Well, one thing that we do know for certain is that we have at least a couple of good years of sound bites that will be coming our way.
Yeah, definitely. Great. Okay, so we'll just get straight into it, if that's all right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cool. Adam is an international speaker. He's the author of the Money Matters 21 Practical Lessons of Everyday Success, and noted authority on leadership, team building, and change. He is also the founder of Mr. Century City and a media technology and entertainment empire with global reach of various strategic markets. He has also been featured on Forbes, Business Insider, US News, Fox Business, and much more. So welcome to the show, Adam.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I checked out your site and instantly fell in love with it. You put out some amazing content. Seriously.
Oh, thanks, mate. Yeah. That's right. I saw what you're doing as well on Instagram, and I thought I got to get this guy on as well. So, I'm looking forward to delving right in and writing a review and everything. And so great. Okay, so let's get straight into it. So, how did you get started in the personal finance industry, by the way?
I'm a huge proponent of mentors and having mentors, and I was just really blessed to have a mentor pretty young on that encouraged me to go after a position that I, let's say, wasn't qualified for, number one, wasn't even really necessarily old enough for, but I landed it. So I started as an intern at Raymond James and Company, so it's a pretty large brokerage firm here in the United States when I was 16 in high school. So I basically went to school, let's call it 2 hours a day, and then I went to the firm to work.
Oh, wow. So you just started pretty much when you were 16 and everything. And did you read a lot of personal development books and all those type of success books, and then there was finance and everything to get you on? Yeah.
I don't like to use the word read. I like to use the word studied and continue to study. So
Nice.
I like to tell people, I mentor a lot of entrepreneurs and startups, and I tell them that the only difference between me and a lot of other entrepreneurs is that when I like Think and Grow Rich, for me is a textbook. How to Win Friends and Influence People, that's a textbook to be revisited and read and reread and redigested constantly.
Yeah.
I've been rereading those books for over, let's call it 15 years.
Yeah. It's really, I think that's really important what you just said about study, because there's a huge difference between just reading a book and just actually going deep with it. And what you just said there about, like, Think and Grow Rich, you actually, like, treat it like a textbook where you're going through it, unpacking more wisdom out of it, and applying it into your life. So I think that's excellent. Yeah. All right. So what triggered you to write your book, Money Matters, 21 Practical Lessons?
It was never really in my design to do it. So I was actually writing another book that was, it was more of a really technical finance book, just based on some of my experiences. But I was interviewed on a pretty large channel for Tai Lopez. And after the interview, I was, he has pretty much a younger staff. So they were asking me questions, and I'm answering the questions, and I kind of got to know. I'm like, wait a minute. And then I thought about, like, my common sense is that the majority of the population doesn't actually have the fundamentals of investing or of how to run their finances. If they did, then we wouldn't be in a lot of people in this country and in the world wouldn't necessarily be in the situation they were. So I was, so after I was interviewed for that show, I was actually, like, the next day or the day after, I was going to China to speak in a couple of cities, specifically on wealth management and managing finances. And, that I had a lot of downtime in between speeches. So I was just thinking. And really the book kind of came to me, and the thought process came to me from then, and I left a half-written book that will be finished at some point on the table, and I really just jumped full force into it and really just kind of built on a lot of the concepts and made them more digestible for somebody who maybe doesn't have a degree in business or doesn't have a finance degree or background to be able to comprehend. I thought it'd be more of use to people in general.
That's really good. Sounds like you're really passionate in it, and at the start, you probably just got pissed off as well because, you haven't seen, a lot of people are struggling with the finances, and, they're not being educated properly. So, I mean, in the school system, I mean, they're not teaching us how to do these type of things, right? How to save money and invest and all these tricks with money and everything. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I see it day in and day out. So in actually working in the business, I've worked with everything from somebody that's just investing their first dollar to your ultra high net worth investors, worth upwards of, $20 million. So I've worked with literally every different maybe I haven't seen everything, but I've worked with every age group. I mean, my oldest client last year was 96 years old, and he drove himself into the office. So there you go. And I've worked with teenagers that were going to inherit great wealth from their parents, and starting to work on coaching them while their parents are still around, so that when they inherit this wealth, it can last more than a generation. Let's call it.
Yeah. That's good. I think I read this article somewhere that, like, most people who won the lottery, like the ones who won the lottery, they got all the millions and everything, but then after a few years they tend to have lost everything and maybe in even more debt. But the ones who have the knowledge and know how to grow their money and everything, they know how to hold on to it. So the wealth pretty much goes back to the ones who have the right knowledge and all the finances and everything. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Well, keeping a hold of your money is really a skill, and there's different ways to win the lottery, by the way. So, for example, I work with a lot of entertainers. I'm here in Century City in Beverly Hills, California, so that's where my office is out of. So, I've had clients who, they get their first, they've been a starving actor their entire life, and now they get their first, $1 million contract, and it's like, oh, that's like winning the lottery, because you don't really know. That might be their only show they're ever on. They may never get another. I mean, they don't want to think that, but that's the way we have to plan.
True. All right. So, what do you think? Why do you think people struggle with their finances? By the way, why is it that so many people struggle with it?
I think it's habit. 100% habit. So a lot of the things I teach, so for example, in the book, and just in general, even though I'm definitely a law of attraction, positivity guy, I'm more so a nuts and bolts, strategic, what works guy above all. And that being said, it's habit. So like a simple tip that I give in the book is I say that I believe in using automated things for certain things, and then I believe in doing certain things manually. So I believe in, to elaborate, I believe in investing automatically, being on an automatic investment plan through your 401k or through other means to say, put away $100 a month or a week or whatever you can afford, $1,000, whatever's going to get you to your goals. What I don't believe in doing is paying your bills automatically. Why? Because what happens is a lot of people that have automatic bills coming out, they accumulate. And what happens is sometimes people will be paying for stuff they don't even use. They have no idea what it's coming out. They don't know how it's coming out. So even though, there's an argument, and I believe in that argument too, which is basically, obviously time is money. So why should you spend an hour a week on paying your bills manually when you could do it automatically and free up that hour? Well, for most of us, I would argue you probably waste an hour a week, if we're being honest, doing something. So whether it's watching TV or Netflix or something, you're wasting an hour. So that right. I don't ever take as an excuse. Very few people will I accept that from. But that being said, if you're having a problem, so this isn't for everybody, but if you're having a problem, if you're a certain age and you still don't have any savings, if you're a certain age and you still don't really have a plan to guide you by, then no offense, but you have that hour, okay? Pay your bills manually. Make sure you have to log in and pay each one. And what's funny is, and I'm guilty of this too, by the way, I'm human, and I work in this business for many years, but I'll give you an example of one that I just canceled the other day. It was an automatic renewal for Blinkist. No offense, it's a great product. I'm not downing them. If anybody uses them, keep using them. But the bottom line is I hadn't logged in there. I was already subscribing to other things. So that's just, it's little things like that. I mean, it's only $80 a year, but think about it this way. That $80, put it in an investment, getting 5%, compounding over 20 years. I mean, it may not sound exciting, but that's how you really gather wealth. That's how you become wealthy over time. And that's something that you can invest your future in, as opposed to guessing.
Okay, that's really, really good. So so it's all about just because when you're manually doing it yourself, you actually know how much is going out of your pocket and everything, and you're keeping an eye on it as well. So that's really good.
And what's interesting, and where I got this idea from, by the way, it's kind of a variation of what one of my clients taught me. So he's no longer with us, but when I stopped working with him before he passed, he was about 93, and what he had was so back in the day when you bought stock, you obviously bought it directly from the company, and they'd mail you dividend checks. So he manually had a blotter, I'm talking like this thick, of every single dividend he'd ever received from every single investment. And I was like, and he was extremely wealthy. And I thought about it for a moment, and I'm like, that makes sense. And then I thought about, people nowadays, and I'm like, well, that's not what gets people right now. It's not actually, we're in such an abundant time. I mean, if you think about when he lived, it was Great Depression. It was like, there was real hardship. But now, there's compared to most other time periods, there's so much abundance that if you really think about it, what gets people today is it's debt. It's not making money. I have clients that make $500,000, $1 million a year that when they start working with me, they're living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, that's true.
It's debt. It's debt. It's not making enough.
Yeah, there's like so many people who's like earning so much, but then they spend more than what they earn. Somehow do that, and that just really kills them. And yeah, just recently, I because I get a credit card, it's already paid off and everything. But sometimes when I use it, I check the statement, and it says, oh, if you pay this, if you pay the minimum, it's going to take you 17 years and 21 days to pay it off. I'm thinking, Jesus, imagine just paying off the minimum. It's just like crazy. So I just thought that that is the biggest killer. So Yeah.
I love that, and then to add that, so that's something else I like. Try a parallel I draw in the book is there's a whole chapter on how compound interest works. Because I don't think getting back to in school and what we're taught in school, I don't think that the majority of the population, like if you were to quiz, let's just maybe not your business-minded friends, but just your general friends, if you were to ask, let's say 50 of your friends, what's compound interest, how does it work, and how can you get it to work for you, they don't even understand, they know the concept.
Yeah.
So if you don't know that concept as a fundamental principle, then you don't know how the majority of people in history have become rich.
That's true. Yeah, it's always those little... just always a little information that, like, you know, you just got to understand it, like the personal finance, or these little tricks, and it just opens, it's like small hinges just open big doors, right?
And for those of you listening, I didn't define it, so I'll give you a simple definition. So think of it, I shouldn't assume that. Sorry about that, everybody listening. But a simple definition is, think about it this way. When your investment pays you money, you put that money back in the investment. That's all. And when you put that money back in the investment, there's a potential that it will grow much, much faster than it would if you just took that money and, you know, went and spent it on something. Think of it that way, simplest terms. And Google it, compound interest calculator, and play around with it, and you'll be amazed.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. Okay, so how about financial independence? I mean, we got a lot of people who want to quit their jobs and everything, and just want to retire off the savings or whatever it is. So what can you advise us on something about that? Like, you know, how do we achieve financial independence through investments or business, or what do you think?
So multiple flows of income. And if you're thinking about, let's say you have this big funnel, and at the very top of the funnel are going to be where all your income sources are coming. And then on the very bottom of the funnel is where you're going to basically achieve your goals, to where you can kind of do as you like on a daily basis. So whatever your goals happen to be, different for everyone. That the top of that funnel, when you think about filling that, that's going to look different for everyone. So some people are meant to be, you know, like I said, I coach a lot of entrepreneurs and startups. Some people are meant to be entrepreneurs and to create businesses. And then, you know, on the other end of the spectrum, some people are not meant to do that. Some people are going to, you know, go to work every day, and they kind of have a benefit of life that, that they want and that they like. So, I mean, I don't want to pigeonhole anyone to think you have to do one or the other. What I say is that either way, in whatever space you choose to operate in, you can still achieve financial independence. It's very simple. All you have to think about is, how can you add additional streams of income? So that would be the first tip. Doesn't mean working more. Maybe it is in investing and having those dividends build up. And for anybody listening that doesn't know what a dividend is, just think of it as when your investment pays you, it's either considered maybe dividend or interest or some type of sharing of profit. So just think of it as your paycheck from your investment. That being said, so if the more you invest in across different investments, the bigger that paycheck from your investments can become. So that's one route. If you are on the entrepreneurial mindset and you do have that kind of that urge in you, then I would definitely say you want to look at different side ways to make money, both passive and active. I'll give you an example. If you're younger, you have the time, the energy, and you want to do it. I was picked up the other day. I take a lot of Ubers in LA, so I love Ubers because I don't have to drive, and I can, do things like this, talk on the phone, play on social media, go on Instagram. I mean, I like all of these things, so I'd rather have somebody drive me around. So the guy the Uber driver there, he was a realtor, and he made good money. He did other things, whatever. And he said, he basically told me, he was like, we got in a conversation about this, and he says, why he was doing it. He says, this is just going into my retirement fund. That's it. So, I mean, he's just looking at building his paycheck faster. So he says, I drive like 2 or 3 times a week. I don't do anything Saturday morning anyway. I normally just got up and I used to watch TV. So now I just get up, I get out, I get fresh air. I have interesting conversations. I make, X amount of dollars, and I just put that in my retirement fund. And it's not that he needed to. It's just saying that, more in there is not going to hurt. So he's looking for different ways of making money. So that's an active way, and a non-committal way was him driving an Uber. For others, you'll have other complexions, whether it's real estate but real estate also is not necessarily for everybody. I bought my first property when I was 17. I've bought and sold properties actively since, not for clients, but for myself and for my own passive income needs. So when I was, by the time I was 26, I could have, if I wanted that standard of living that I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Phoenix, I could have basically retired based off of, real estate and having that passive income, but that didn't align with my goals.
Yep.
I didn't want to live in a 1-bedroom apartment by myself, lonely. I want family. I want a house. I want, so I had to step it up and do some other things to get out of my comfort zone. I just give you all those different examples because I think financial freedom and financial independence, I think that it's used so often that the term has become so cliche that people don't, one, believe it can happen to them, and two, they don't know that it's real, like that it is an actual thing. But even through just sound money management principles, you don't have to die at work. Or like I have a chapter in the book called "Don't Die at Your Desk." You don't.
That sounds like
you don't
an
have
chapter.
to.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to is the thing. I mean, that's the thing.
That's really good. Yeah, I like what you said about Uber as well, because I heard that you can make like about a few $1,000s over the weekend, just driving people home from the bars and everything. And I mean, what are you going to do between the hours of like 11 and 1? You're pretty much just on the internet, so you might as well jump in your car and just make a couple $100 and just add that to your to your savings, and like you said, invest into some sort of investment fund that returns 12% or something like that. So
whenever I meet somebody young and they tell me, oh well, I can't put away $100 a month or $200 or whatever, and I'm like, what? Are you okay? Tell me how many hours a week you're working, because I'm like, yeah, right. I'm like, you don't want to or you can't. It's two different things. But and once you understand compound interest, you understand the most important dollar you invest is the first.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Okay. So, if there was one thing you could teach others in terms of turning their finances around, what would it be?
The concept of cash flow. I mean, so if you're, and this is the way. So I teach my clients, and I teach the people I consult to look at themselves as businesses. So if you think about it that way, I'll kind of make the analogy. If you were buying a property. If you were going to buy, let's say, this house, and you were going to buy a house and it was going to cost you $1,000 a month in expenses, but you could only rent it out for $800 a month, then what happens? You're losing $200 a month. So if you're treating yourself as a business, and if you think about how much it costs for your upkeep, if it costs you $2,000 a month for your upkeep, and you're only bringing in $1,500, your worth in terms of money is minus $500. So treat yourself like a business and make decisions like you're a business owner. And if you do just that one thing, it changes everything. Once you understand that one concept, it would change everything. Now, let's just say you already understand that concept. I'll take it one step further. So let's say you're positive cash flow now, so meaning you're not a bad investment as a business. Now you want to start looking at your balance sheet. So you just want to say, and all a balance sheet is, for anybody that's not familiar, is just think of it as assets and liabilities. So one thing is something that's, you could potentially sell and make money, so your assets. Your liabilities is when you owe somebody or it's taking money from you. So just to give you the two concepts. So the second thing would be this: if you can train yourself, I mean physically train yourself to the point to where when you add something to the liability side, you actually experience like physical pain, like you're sad, like you're depressed, like, why did I have to put that over there? I worked so hard. It took me maybe 2 years to pay off that credit card, and now XYZ happened, and now I have to add something else to the liability side. If you can train yourself to literally feel that negative feeling when you put something on the liability side, and then the counterpart of that is train yourself to be happy to put something on the asset side. Like you should get excited every time you see, no matter how much you have going into your retirement accounts. You have $100 going in there, $200, it doesn't matter, $50 going into there. If you can train yourself to experience joy from that and make the connection mentally to the fact that when you put money in that account, everything that's behind that, the idea of getting one step closer to your hopes, one step closer to your dreams. If you can do those two things, then everything else works itself out. All the decisions you make in terms of business and finance, it really will just work itself out. I mean, I'm not saying you'll always win, by the way. So obviously you start businesses, they fail, some succeed. Obviously you'll have your ups and downs. That's life, right? I've been there, and I'm sure I'll be there again in the future. It's okay. I'm not scared. But that being said, those two things in terms of how you actually run your cash flow, those won't change. Those won't change. You won't get in over your head on a business deal. You won't potentially lose everything. You won't experience a lot of the hardships that many do, ultimately.
That's excellent about cash flow. I remember I heard someone once said that if you look at the balance sheet, if you look at like the income and expenses, the one row of income can completely decimate like your entire expenses. That's how powerful that one row is in the income. So all you need to do is get a few more rows, and then you're pretty much all set. So like what you're saying about like cash flow, and it just protects you from any economic conditions and anything that can happen to you. So that's excellent what you just said. So thanks for that.
And it's really just the formula. Over and over and over again it happens. It's nothing to reinvent. You just do it.
Yeah. All right, great. Okay, so how can people get in contact with you and buy your book and see you in person and everything?
Absolutely. So just go to the website, askadamtorres.com, and follow me on Instagram. So I'm Ask Adam Torres everywhere. Instagram, Twitter, website, Facebook, Ask Adam Torres. So you just ask me, and I do a lot. If you're interested in coaching, if you're an entrepreneur, startup, then you just go to the website. There's an inquiry form, and you can reach me there. Great.
No worries. All right, well, thanks a lot for that, Adam. And I'm sure that a lot of people will learn a lot from what you have to say from your book as well. And I wish you all the best. And I'll hopefully I'll see you soon. Yeah, no worries.
Fantastic. Take care. Thank you.
Cheers.